I'm Christina Bianco, and welcome to the Sarah O'Connell Show. The Sarah O'Connell Show? She's terrific. Oh, it's you.
Hi, how are you?
The Sarah O'Connell Show. I like the way your daughter did it better. Welcome to the Sarah O'Connell Show. The Sarah O'Connell Show.
Welcome to the Sarah O'Connell Show.
Christina Bianco, welcome to the Sarah O'Connell Show. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you for having me. It's a beautiful, sunny, and very hot day here in London, which is great, except that this room is quite hot. So,
I don't know if it is quite hot or if there's just 4,000 stairs leading to this room.
that is also true. It's true. Sometimes I stay in very, very glamorous establishments, and sometimes I get my day's cardio just entering and exiting my room. This is one of those times.
But it's a very nice room.
Yes, lovely hotel once you're up the stairs.
Exactly. So you are an incredibly talented actress and singer and impressionist.
Thank you very much.
But I'd also say you're one of the most talented people in the world. But not only are you one of the most talented people in the world, you're about 100 of the most talented people in the world.
Thank you. I do. I love to do impressions, and it's really fun for me to try to emulate and mimic it. The word mimic is correct, but I like to put more into it. I always like to try to find something to grab onto that the audience is going to love, and therefore I really have to love those celebrities too. So everything I do is done with love.
Absolutely. And so have you always been performing from a young age?
Yeah, when I was little, my parents told me I was sort of singing before I could speak. Yeah. One of the things, my favorite songs was Material Girl by Madonna, and I was 100% sure that it was a Cheerio girl. And the song was about Cheerios, and therefore Madonna and I was like, we get it. We are similar. So I was singing those songs, barely knowing what I was saying, and my parents kind of knew that I had the bug to perform. I wasn't never nervous about it, but I didn't know I was doing impressions when I was doing them. I had a good ear, and my parents tell me a lot. I've explained this in a lot of my shows, but it's a true story that they say that when I would sing along to the radio or the TV or watching Mary Poppins or something, I would sing along taking on the sort of style and the tone and the phrasing or the accent of that particular performer. And so sometimes when I would sing rock and roll, I would sing it obviously differently than if you were going to sing, say, Mary Poppins, like, of course. But so what I didn't know at the time was I was doing that, but what it was doing was also helping me as a vocalist in my own right, just to sing different styles from a young age. So I had a knack for it, I had an ear for it, but it wasn't until years later that I thought, oh, I think people might like this, like I might be okay at this. And people asked me to do Celine Dion impressions, and I was like, what? And they're like, well, when you sing that, you sang that and you sounded like her. And then I was like, oh, I was really slow on the uptake.
Do I? Celine Dion gets it all the time too. She's like, do I?
Yeah. Yes. In my fantasies, people always say, Celine, how do you feel about Christina Bianco's impression of you? I don't think she's ever been asked, but let's hope if she's seen it that she loves it.
If she comes on the show, it'll be the first thing I ask her.
Oh my God, that'd be fantastic.
I know, right?
I know. If she's smart, she would just be like, oh yeah, she's terrific. I love her so much, even if she has no idea who I am. That would just probably be the best way to go.
See, it's exciting because in England we're only allowed to sing like Julie Andrews. It's like a law. Yeah. We can't help it. We try different styles, but it just comes out like that.
Or the Spice Girls.
Sometimes the Spice Girls, yeah.
Sometimes. You've got Adele, so, I mean, you with Adele, you're doing quite well, I think. You really sort of like Jessie J, Adele, these huge voices, and that are so different, obviously, from a Julie Andrews and the classic performers that we know from the UK and Elton John and all that. It's really diverse and really fabulous, but for me, these huge voices, I love listening to them. I mean, one of my favorite singers of all time is Jessie J. I don't think anybody today, I can't say that. I can't say anybody today has a voice as good as hers. You can't say that, but I kind of think that. So.
I haven't sung yet.
Oh.
Do you know, I think I probably even mime out of tune.
I'm ready. I've been traveling. I'm jet lagged. It's your turn.
Yeah, it'll be a short interview if I start singing. You'll just
we'll come back to this later.
Yeah. Well, we'll do like loads of training for about 10 years, and then if you can dub over me afterwards, then I might go over it for 5 seconds.
That's a deal.
Fantastic. So who were your inspirations growing up, sort of vocally?
And from a wide range of genres. Growing up outside of New York City, there was a lot of theater, and what we call in New York, we call it cabaret, but it's really just like nightclub concert singing. If it's not a huge celebrity in a big arena or a theatrical venue that's having someone come in with concerts, those nightclubs, those lounges, they call it New York style cabaret. And some of the great artists, a couple that are no longer with us, like Nancy Lamotte. It's just like these amazing performers that I grew up listening to, these storytellers. They weren't quite pop, they weren't quite musical theater, and I think it was very helpful to me to help me find where I fit in. But yeah, I mean, I can't leave out the pop music and Madonna. As a vocalist, she was one of my favorite vocalists. She's more of a performer to me than a singer. But Linda Ronstadt was a big inspiration for me, and she's someone who could sing jazz and opera and Pirates of Penzance and then rock it out. So Linda Ronstadt, obviously Barbra Streisand. I'm a New Yorker. I have to be a fan of Barbra Streisand, and the same goes for Bette Midler. Bette Midler, she's one of my biggest influences when it comes to crafting my shows, because I always say she in particular does something very unique. If you don't know her, most people do, but if you don't know her and you go see one of her shows, you might think she's a little bit of a stand-up comedian. But she has these bits of the show where she'll just talk, and then she'll put on a beautiful gown and sing like a ballad like The Rose and make you cry. And then she'll come out in a wheelchair with a mermaid tail, and you're like, what is going on? But the fact that the audience goes along with it, because it's just her, it's honest, it's fun, and she's not afraid to put forth different things and sing in different styles and genres. I thought that was just really special, and so I've always tried to do that. And then, oh gosh, I don't know, there are so many people. It's a really bad list here, but I'm very old.
Very good list.
Thank you. I could talk all day. 100% Italian. Old school swing. I always mention my love of people who a lot of your viewers may not know. Edie Gourmet, Keely Smith. You all know Ella Fitzgerald. Dinah Washington. I mean, these women that told a story through these standards, and everybody would cover them. Like Billie Holiday would do it, Ella would do it, Nancy Wilson would do these songs, and they were all different. And so I always listened to that, and that's something that helped me interpret songs and music on my own. But yeah, inadvertently, I was also sort of picking up all of these voices. I don't do Ella Fitzgerald, though. I just can't.
So when you started consciously impersonating or realizing that you could and doing it very well, how I'm kind of in awe of this. How do you switch in a split second between the voices? Like they're all just preloaded in your vocal cords or something?
Preloaded, I like that. Preloaded. I don't. The truth is, I don't know. I practice, and practice obviously makes it easier. There are certain transitions and certain voices that are easier to flow from one to the other, and then there are bits that wouldn't work necessarily because the voices might be too similar, and you wouldn't think that. Let me think of an example of this. For example, well, I guess someone...
Mariah Carey, for example. Right. They're too similar, so yeah.
Can't possibly put them together. Let's think about... Okay, so Bernadette Peters, who I may have sung a little bit of your theme song as. Bernadette Peters is very pouty, and she's got that round Betty Boop sort of thing. Ooh. So her voice is obviously not a pop rock voice. Yeah. Gwen Stefani's voice is placed in a very similar spot, and their vibratos aren't the same, the shake in their voice isn't the same. But if she said, "The Sarah O'Connell Show," it's almost the same as this. So I would never put Gwen Stefani and Bernadette Peters next to each other in like a mashup, because the difference might not be clear enough. I'm doing them accurately, but it wouldn't necessarily... So then sometimes I'm forced to do a much harder jump to somebody really nasal like that, to somebody really throaty like Shirley Bassey or Judy Garland. So it's fun putting those together. All I can say is part of it is just that I'm pretty flexible vocally, and the other part of it is, practice. We all know practice makes perfect.
Really does. It really is incredible to watch, and I love it too when you'll get people to call out names to you, and then they'll say Christina Bianco, then you'll switch to your voice, which is amazing in itself, and the crowd goes nuts.
That's the nicest part of every show. I love doing the impressions, and I don't, thankfully, because the audiences have been so supportive of me as well. From day one, my first show here in the UK, I did I do a show is typically about half my own voice, half impressions, and melded together with a theme so it flows, not just. And the audience has always enjoyed it, and that's been so, I guess, just uplifting, because particularly in the way that I got popular with YouTube videos and all that. In the YouTube video, I don't sing in my own voice, or not enough that I would think that would be a reason why people were watching. So the fact that the audience embraced it, I never take for granted, and so I craft all my shows that way. And so when the audience cheers when it's my own voice, it's like, oh, you guys. But I mean it, because I love doing the impressions. I would never go, oh, I'm done with that, I'll never do that anymore. But I also can and hope to have other chapters of my career that don't involve impressions, and so I want to be able to balance them. And I never want to resent either. I never want to resent the impressions because I can't be me. So I like doing both. I'm grateful that I get to.
It's good to make a good impression, right?
Yes, it is.
And the thing is too, they're not just applauding you when you're singing your voice, they're all technically your voice. Yeah. So that you should get all the applause there.
Yeah, it's a really interesting situation, but it's a unique one, and I'm very grateful that it's my life.
Absolutely.
This is my life. It's too loud an impression to do in a hotel.
No, it isn't. Go for it. I think you should. They're going to go, there's like an all-star diva concert happening.
We'd have to just like cut to this bit. I'll do it really loud. This is my life! That's great, just put that.
That's amazing. See, you'll never get blamed for that too, because they'll think...
I'm sorry, I was playing it a bit loud.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Really?
This radio's broken, what's happening?
My speakerphone is incredible.
I know, it's so good.
So stupid.
So...
Me, not you.
See, if I could do that, I literally would not stop doing it. I just...
Yeah, well, I found that I have to stop occasionally because my dog is just a lovely, wonderful dog, but there's only so many times you can hear him go grumble, put his head down, gives me side-eye. That means, kindly shut up, Mum.
Well, the dog should be more appreciative of it.
My husband's more appreciative than my dog. He gets it. It's like part of my livelihood and I have to do it. But the dog is just like, she's at it again. I don't know who's yelling at me today. Exactly. Is it Britney Spears? Is it Drew Barrymore? You know what he doesn't like, though? This is hysterical. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this. I was practicing... in my opinion, I don't do a very strong Lady Gaga impression. So I try to use a lot of her music. I don't know, maybe now that she's singing, you hear more of her own voice much more clearly. But early Gaga, when it was very processed and the synthesizers and the vocal processing, it was hard. So I never really got it. So I practice a lot. My dog does not like a lot of Lady Gaga music, early Gaga stuff. He grumbles and grumbles. I think that's hysterical because I really dig her stuff. But Jeff Vader NYC... on Instagram. Yes, my dog has on Instagram. And you should follow him even though he doesn't love Lady Gaga as much as I do.
Is that because your dog hasn't met Lady Gaga with the meat dress on?
I think if he met her with the meat dress on, his entire opinion of her would change.
I think so.
Yeah. If there's food involved, he's in. He's on board.
Exactly.
Like any good little dog.
So in addition to having an incredible singing voice, you're really good at just capturing people's voices, like their speaking voices too, Julie Andrews.
Thank you very much. I love doing speaking impressions, and because that wasn't on one of the popular YouTube videos, I think that people are always surprised in my live shows when I do that. It's great for me because it's a really hard vocal workout for me during the show. It's not an easy sing. None of my shows are an easy sing. And now I'm trying, because I want to have a career that is long and prosperous. I'm trying to be even more careful about what I put in my shows. A couple of years ago, I'd just be like, well, if I do 80 impressions or if I do 100 impressions, I have to get all of them in the show. And it's like... no, you don't. You have to craft a good show, and you have to take care of yourself so you can do 8 shows a week or whatever you need to do in your life. So I've been sort of balancing it out, and I was like, I should spend more time on speaking impressions. Now, those are not necessarily easier on my voice. Some of them can be quite difficult because of the way that I have to place it. But it's a break. It's a break for the band. It's a break from belting or soprano, and it's also nice to just shift things around, switch it up for my voice during the show. And so I've been putting more and more little bits in. I think the first bit that I ever did was my now quite popular reading of Barbra Streisand's design book, My Passion for Design. which I keep waiting for a cease and desist from her. Not because I'm afraid, because I really would like to read it. If she sent it. No, but it would be really fun. It'd be scary, but also fun. Comes up Babs really well. Scary, but also fun.
Who are your favourite people to impersonate or just to sing along to?
My favorite impression is hard to pick, and I always say it's hard to pick, and then I always say, but Celine Dion. Yeah. I think Celine is my favorite for a few reasons. She's the full package impression. She has a very specific physicality, which she's really tall and really skinny, and I'm short and curvy. So for me to try to do that is a challenge, but it's fun. It's great to try to, interpret that. Yeah. So she's got the funny physicality. She has the very specific way of speaking, and sometimes she often puts the wrong emphasis on words. It's so much fun to figure out how she might craft a sentence. Yeah. And then, of course, I think she has the best voice. Again, one of the greatest voices we've ever had in the history of voices. And I think that when you sing her music, that's a challenge for me to attempt to sing her stuff. How lofty of me to think, what a lofty idea. Who do you think you are that you can sing Celine's stuff? So that's a challenge for me. And then the added bit of fun is when I take songs that they don't normally sing and have them interpret it. Well, I'm a sick Celine Dion fan, and I think I know how she would do a lot of that stuff within my own vocal limitations. So it's really gives me an extra sort of level of geekiness when I work on my Celine impression.
So do you is it like you're almost decoding or unpacking what they do?
Yeah, a little bit. It's funny, the really wonderful social media, but like YouTube personality Natalie Weiss breaks down the riffs of famous people, and Seth Rudetsky in New York, breaks down vocal performances of other Broadway celebrities and all that. And it's funny, someone had once said you should do a breaking down of an impression of somebody, and the only reason I haven't done that is it's sort of like a magician revealing all of their tricks, and other people have very, very adamantly been like, no, I don't want to know, I just want to, because if I say something, it could color how they hear it. I did hear an impressionist once, and it's on the internet, so I don't mind saying who it is. The wonderful impressionist who opens for Celine Dion very frequently, Veronique. Veronique, when she does some sets of her shows, she will say, okay, so to do this person, I imagine I'm like Mickey Mouse, but with this, or I imagine I'm like Miss Piggy with this. And I forgot what impression it was, but I could not stop hearing Miss Piggy after she said that. And I went, okay, don't do that in your shows. And it's a hard thing when you watch other people that do something similar to you, because you're obviously curious, but you also I don't want to be influenced by it. I really don't. So it was weird. I was seeing Celine, so I couldn't avoid watching Veronique, who is freaking fantastic. I genuinely think she's fantastic. But it's one of those things where you have to sort of walk a fine line.
I was watching a misheard lyrics video once, and it was Adele's Skyfall, and I think it was something like When Worlds Collide, I'm Daisy Duck, and because of that I can't unhear it.
Well, that's hysterical. Now I'm going to hear that on Daisy Duck. Oh, yeah. I'm thinking of the exact part. Oh, my God. Well, I always think it's funny that at the end of Skyfall, she says, at Skyfall, there's an S at the end of Skyfall. You can hear it on the actual recording before, ooh. I don't know why there's an S. They didn't edit it out. Was she supposed to be saying Skyfalls? I don't know. But now, I could be singing along to the song in the car. Oos. I just have to say oos at the end. It's like, you go right to the thing that you remember.
That's it, after Daisy Duck and Skyfalls. So
Daisy Duck, Skyfalls.
The full title of the movie.
Shut out, kids. That was the alternate title. Yeah.
Now, if I had your superpower, I think what I would probably do is prank call a lot of people. Have you ever done that?
I haven't done that. I haven't prank called anybody. I have left. I've left this thing that I do very frequently on my shows as prizes for little trivia games or whatever. And right now on my crowdfunding for my live album, I'm offering to leave your outgoing voicemail message as somebody. The prank call thing, people haven't asked me to do it. Honestly, you'd think that everybody would, but they don't. I would also feel bad about it, like unless it was somebody I knew really well, and but the person, if I knew the person really well, they might know it's me. They might be like, Christina, what are you doing? But I don't know. I think there's a very classy way to do it. and if I'm asked, I will work it out. But so far, I'm innocent. No one has made me do that. But the outgoing voicemail is definitely, easier. It's softer. It's not fully aggressive, because that way you're not really fooling one particular person. It's just there for everybody to hear. And so I don't know, like if I was gonna leave one as I did leave one the other day at one of my shows for a guy named Steve, and I was like, please ask for Drew Barrymore. And he was like, I want Celine Dion or Drew Barrymore. And so I actually did 2 for him, because I just wanted to be like, hey, you've reached the voicemail of Steve. He can't come to the phone right now because he's just so amazing. And I put in as many S's as I could, and I was just talking about how, like, it's a beautiful thing that you're calling him, and he wants to call you back so badly, but you're just gonna have to wait a little while longer. And it was like, I just kept babbling in that sing-songy way that she does, getting in as many S's as I could, and he already wrote me and was like, I have 2 friends who were like, how do you know Drew Barrymore? And I was like, yes! It's nice, because, I hear it. I hear the differences. Yeah. I know the impressions that I think are very, very accurate, and the ones that I think sound like them in a heightened way, and I try my best to be accurate. Yeah. But you just never expect someone to actually think it's that person. I caught myself once meaning I was like, that's me. I thought that was Dolly Parton. And I was very impressed with myself, and I never say that. I'm really, really hard on myself. But Dolly's an impression that I struggle with. She's very difficult for me, and I don't use her as frequently as I use some others. I have to put her in very specific spots. But recently, I was my voice appeared on RuPaul's Drag Race, All Stars season. Yeah. 3? Season 3, and they had this big Divas Live production number, and I voiced 6. I think you only heard 5, but I voiced a bunch of them. And the wonderful Trixie, who won, was Dolly Parton, and it was a trailer for the episode, and I was just literally sitting like. I was in Chicago working on this production of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat I was doing. I had like show makeup on. I was trying to run between shows and grab like some chick. It was like not cute at all. I'm running around in like a robe, and all of a sudden I heard this voice, and I was like, that was me. I thought it was Dolly Parton. Like, I thought it was Dolly Parton. I couldn't rewind it because I don't have a DVR in this housing, and I couldn't believe it. And I went online and I watched the clip, and I was like, I thought that was Dolly Parton, but then I heard the wrong lyrics, and I was like, I did that. That was one of the coolest moments of my life that I had all by myself, like holding chicken in a robe with false eyelashes on. It was fantastic. But it doesn't happen that frequently, because I know, like I know the differences between their voices and mine. So it's a really nice little gift when people tell me that they think it's spot on, or they can't tell the difference, so really cool.
Really, I mean, like when you did Celine earlier, you literally embody her. It's not just your voice, but your mannerisms and everything. Because like your posture changes in your face.
Girl appreciates that, because I'm always trying to be taller.
I was sat down. I can't tell.
I know. The only thing is this, though. See, now you can't see where her legs are, but mine are right here, because essentially I'm like the little kid right now.
So what are we gonna do? Hi.
It's a true story. We are sat on a bed, and there's a turtle tortoise.
Yes. Are we going to talk about this? Okay, We'll talk about this. I'm a grown woman, but I sometimes have a little, like we all do, things you cling to. Yeah. And I don't have a blanket or a shirt, or I didn't have any toy or anything that I kept with me during my years of travel and getting older. I never had one item like that. But I found as I was traveling, I could always call home and talk to my husband and tell him how much I missed him. But I missed my dog. And I can't bring my dog with me. And I never found a stuffed animal that looked like my dog. Yeah. And this is so weird, but so true. You get the exclusive private conversation. Amazing. My husband, he's a veterinary technician, and he was working at an aquarium in New York, the New York Aquarium, and he brought me into the gift shop, and he was like being funny. He's like, you can buy anything you want, because he gets a discount in the store. And I was like, well, I'm not going to buy a stuffed animal. Like, I don't really need anything in my life. Jeff, my dog, will probably think it's his and try to destroy it. but I was thinking about having a keepsake to travel with, and I'm telling you, there was this little face on this little stuffed animal of a turtle, which happens to be my favorite animal. I love turtles. And it looked like my dog. Like, the facial expression is a little crooked. Like, all the other turtles were looking really fine. This one was a little off and sort of being like, And my dog is always kind of giving a little shade and a little side eye. He's definitely a little dude. And I just picked it up, and it was so tiny. And I thought, that's my travel turtle. So my travel turtle, his name is Thomas. Thomas, the travel turtle.
It's very cute, and I like it too because it's a little piece of home that you take with you, and turtles carry their home with them too.
Yeah. Perfect. It's exactly right.
I understand.
Exactly what I think about it. It's so funny. I am an adult, but we all need these things, particularly when you travel far away from home when you're missing everybody. And so it's just this little thing I travel with me, and we'll have to get a shot of Thomas later. So yeah, and it reminds me of Jeff and reminds me of home.
It's very cute.
Thanks.
So, what's your pre-show routine or ritual? Have you got anything that you do to warm up your voice? Do you drink anything?
Yeah, they always say that the number one thing that's going to keep you healthy and make you perform to the best of your ability is sleep and lots of water. Depending on where I am and what I'm doing, the sleep is questionable, but water. And I love throat coat tea. Throat coat, you can actually find that tea at Whole Foods, I believe.
Okay.
I forgot the brand right now, but they have a bunch of different teas, but throat coat is one of them. And I love it. It's got all this wonderful stuff in it, and marshmallow and anise and all of it, and just it's really good for clearing the cords. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm not the best about having a consistent, like, 15 minutes before the show I will do this warm-up. It varies on how I'm feeling, and if I've been rehearsing and teching up to the show, I actually find that I could oversing and get vocally tired before the show has begun. So I try to be really careful about that. So it varies, but I'm not going to gallivant around the night before partying. I am not one of those singers that can't have acidic things like tomato sauce or chocolate. I'm not afraid to have a cocktail, but I'm not going to have them in excess, and I'm not going to have them right before the show. So you won't see me, having a pizza and drinking gin. I'm not that person who's like, what really helps me through is whiskey. Post-show, a nice whiskey, really good to clear the cords. Love it. Pre-show, water, throat coat.
It's very good advice.
It's not good if you have a sore throat, but if you have something congestion in your throat, apple cider vinegar.
Okay.
Bragg's apple cider vinegar. You can get it at Holland and Barrett's and all that. You just shake it up so all the good, gross, juicy stuff at the bottom of it is in there, and you can put it. Does not taste good, okay? But it works wonders.
That's all we need.
Yeah, and you just put it with some water, and you forget that the apple cider vinegar is in there, and you just drink that vinegary water, and I guarantee you, if you do that for a few days, it'll clear up.
And I'll smell like a fish and chip shop.
It's not so bad, actually. It really isn't. It's not so
That's
bad.
a compliment in England.
Taste it more. Oh, well, then maybe you can rub it behind your ear or something like that.
Exactly. That's the expensive stuff.
Be all enticing. Oh, my vinegary today. Anyway.
You smell delicious.
Facts by Christina Bianco. Oh, I will say there's a thing. Clearing your throat, a lot of singers know this. Actually doing this is terrible for your throat.
This is why I can't sing.
Yeah, well, that's why you can't sing, but it'll keep you, it'll keep your voice in much better form. It takes longer, but it's better for your voice. When you feel that grit in your voice, just try to, it's very sexy. Let your mouth fill up with as much spit as possible and swallow. What you want to do is swallow it to smooth it out. You don't want to get it up, because that's just doing this to your cords. Yeah.
So excuse me for 5 minutes while I wait for my mouth to fill up with spit.
We'll all wait as it's for your vocal health.
1,000, 2, no.
La 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 la. Oh, you don't have Jeopardy here, do you? You don't know that theme song.
I've seen Jeopardy. Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
Exactly. So now I must talk about you recorded yourself doing Total Eclipse of the Heart, and it went a little bit viral, didn't it? I think as of today, I think it's on 8.3 million views, which is incredible.
It's really cool. It's one of those things where you don't ever expect for it to happen, and I always say this, but you can't plan it. You can't be like, I'm going to make this video, I'm going to give it all the right hashtags and all the right clickbait things to make it go viral. There's no way of doing that. If you could do that, everybody would do it all the time. Yeah. For me, it was especially interesting because it wasn't, even now, when you say 8 million views, that's a lot of views. Absolutely. But a lot of the big viral videos out there have 40 million views. It wasn't the fact, I think, that it got so many views overall. It was that I had done something inadvertently that hadn't been done in a while, or done like that in a while, and it got so much coverage. It was less about the YouTube views and people who followed me and all that, and more about the fact that I was invited here to do radio shows. All this because I was one of the first people in a long time to take one song and sing it as multiple people. And I digitally, YouTube sort of, the analytics attribute me to starting the trend, because right after that, everybody was doing it. And that's not because everybody saw the video, but because everyone heard of it or saw the coverage of it. Or, I mean, they called me to do something on Capitol Breakfast or whatever, and I was like, what? And I woke up at probably 3 o'clock in the morning to do it or something like that, or I stayed up to 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, this is really weird. And a couple days later it got even bigger, and then Ellen DeGeneres calls. So it was a very, very cool, very special thing, and to have the momentum after that, having a couple of other videos get millions of views after that, was a really great thing. And that's what happens. You try not to fizzle out. Had I just been a YouTuber, which I'm a live performer, so I could never just be a YouTuber, I think it would have fizzled. And now, when I post videos, they don't get as many views, but I have a great, true, solid fan base that supports me and comes to see me. So it's shifted, but I would not be here today with the audiences that I have around the world, but particularly here in the UK, if it wasn't for that particular video.
It's incredible. So, as you mentioned, you then went on the Ellen DeGeneres show, and how did your life sort of change at that point?
It's really incredible what a show of that scale and popularity can do, because the smallest thing that it did that is incredibly cool is that I get recognized on the street to this day, and that episode aired 4 years ago, I think, because people watch that episode. In fact, after a year, there's some legal thing with music rights. They took the video that Ellen's show put on YouTube. Like when I was on Ellen's TV show, and they put a clip of it on YouTube on Ellen's channel, and that had millions of views. It was great, so great for me, and so cool to see it. And they just took it down after a year. They do that with songs. Oh, wow. And I was like, oh man, like no one's gonna ever remember that. But man, oh man, people really do. Yeah. And I guess it's airs and is syndicated, but it's just so incredible, the reach. I was, in the middle of an airport in Singapore, and someone was like, I'm sorry, are you Christina Bianco? Wow. And if you're not a household name, it feels odd to have someone ask that, but that's the power of social media, and particularly the power of YouTube. And particularly at that time, there aren't as many viral videos anymore, if you notice, because
until this one.
Well, of course, but because Instagram exists, because it's all different now. It's not about that one video that everybody shares. Now it's about just a collection of things, and it's all different. But look, the name Ellen and the power behind Ellen certainly opened many, many doors for me. And when I was in LA doing that, a bunch of other shows that I eventually appeared on, like the Queen Latifah show, reach out to me and say, we want you on the show, but we have to wait like 6 months to a year or something, because of if that show has you, then that show can't, and this and that. And I was like, oh, okay, thinking they'll never call, but then they do. And so it was really an incredible ride. And and this is honest. People always say, what was it like being on Ellen? Was that the coolest moment? It was incredibly cool. The coolest moment for me that was performing on the Paul O'Grady show for Bonnie Tyler. That's it. I mean, that definitely wasn't seen around the world the way my Ellen DeGeneres appearance was. But for me, an American girl who totally always loved Paul O'Grady, because I've always been a big Anglophile, and like Lily Savage, are you kidding me? Like, I loved it. But to be sitting there with Paul O'Grady and Bonnie Tyler, just the whole concept at one point. And also on Ellen, I had to sing to a track. It was edited. It was crazy. I didn't get to rehearse with her. I was just frazzled. And on the Paula Grady show, I was able to bring my accompanist, Joe Louis Robinson, and had a nice piano. It was relaxed. We rehearsed together. So the whole thing, it gave me a little more time to reflect. And I was like, what is my life? Like, why am I here? I'm so freaking lucky that I'm here, that they asked me, and then Bonnie Tyler the same day. Like, it was just so incredible. That was the moment where I thought, if it never gets any cooler than this, I think I'm pretty good. Like, really, really cool. You can't predict that stuff, and you can't package that stuff. It just happens.
That's it. It has to happen organically. You can't force it, right?
Yeah.
Now, you were also in a show called Forbidden Broadway.
I was, yes.
So good.
I was really lucky. I grew up listening to the cast albums and going to see the show in New York City.
Yeah.
Long-running off-Broadway show with a cult following. I mean, it spoofed and parodied the Broadway shows, sort of like Saturday Night Live or your sketch comedy shows here would for pop culture. And it was my life. I would sing along, basically impersonating the impersonators. Yeah. But again, never thought I could do it. Like, my parents would hear me do it in the car as a kid. It was a really kind of rude song. Julie Andrews singing I Couldn't Hit the Note. And this is pre any vocal surgery or anything. It was just a stupid little thing. And usually Forbidden Broadway is a little more classy and a little less mean, but it was a huge hit in the show. And I remember being in the back seat of the car singing, I can't think of how old I was, but I was barely in my teens, And I was singing, I couldn't hit the note, I couldn't hit the note until they dropped the key. And every time she supposed to modulate up, it modulates lower. And I was cracking myself up singing this. And my mother was like, what are you doing? Like, again, never said, there's my Julie Andrews impression. But Forbidden Broadway taught it to me. And so I was trying to think. I was just waiting for an audition for Forbidden Broadway to come out. They'd been around, at the time I auditioned, they'd been around like 28 years. Yeah. So I didn't expect them to have auditions. A lot of those shows have a big stable of people that they've worked with, so they don't need to look for any new ones. And the cast is 2 men and 2 women, so it's not like they have a lot of, room to swap people around. And I remember seeing in the old school days, Backstage magazine, now everything's done online, but had audition notices in them, and everybody in town went buzzing because Forbidden Broadway was finally seeing other people. And I did say, like, for future replacements, not even immediate, no start date, no nothing. And I thought, well, I'm going to go. I've always wanted to go. And I was like, okay, it wouldn't be embarrassing because I know I can change my voice to sound like other people. And I locked myself in my apartment and practiced some voices, just going because I always wanted to. Never thought, they even said no jobs available, and was the first time I ever did impressions telling someone, here's an impression. Yeah. And I just thought, give it a shot, because I knew that material so well. Again, never did I think I would get the part. Never did I think they'd have me open it in New York and not on the road. Yeah. Never did I think I'd get a Drama Desk Award nomination for it. It was like all the weirdest stuff. And had I not been cast in Forbidden Broadway and asked to do all those impressions, I wouldn't have been asked to perform at concerts around town in New York City with all the Broadway performers or this award show. And I went, well, what do I do? I don't want to do something from Forbidden Broadway, so I'll take a song, I'll sing it as multiple people. And then one of those trials, one of those test songs, was Total Eclipse of the Heart. It's like the weirdest thing. You can't plan it. That's all I gotta say. You can't plan.
It's incredible. So, for anyone that goes to see you live, what can they expect from your show? Because, of course, there's you singing your own voice, other people's voices, there's kind of sketch comedy, there's you let people in the audience sort of shout out songs and genres and styles, and I think even, like, cartoon theme.
There's order to the chaos. Exactly. It's hard to summarize. It's why whenever I have to do it for like radio, I usually read it my notes. But I say it's a musical comedy grab bag of fun. I pride myself in putting something in the show for every age group. I love when I see, and I do frequently see, children, their parents, and their grandparents at the show. If the venues seat children, sometimes there's obviously age restrictions. But it makes me so happy because in my show, I try to cover as many genres and styles as I can, all under the umbrella of celebrating these great divas and this great music, and I always have a specific theme. for each show. And so you will hear Ariana Grande, you will hear Edith Piaf, you will get the classic divas like Celine Dion and Barbara Streisand and Judy Garland. And so you'll hear some of the songs you know in the ways you know them. You might hear some songs you know in a way you've never imagined them, like Shakira singing an Ed Sheeran ballad. But how would she do it? It wouldn't sound like Ed. So this is what I do, my unlikely interpretations, I call them. But there's always, I think, you can't do a show like that where you're parodying and mimicking these artists and not have the audience know you a little bit, and you can't be afraid to take the mickey out on yourself as well. So there's a lot of little bits in comedy, and my band and we get to have a little fun and poke fun at each other, and I always make sure that the audience gets to know me a little bit, and so I can have much more sincere moments singing for the audience as me. So it really is something for everybody, and every show is a bit different because I do a lot of these interactive, off the cuff, on the spot impressions, and where the band, or sometimes it's just the pianist, when it's a full band, my gosh, the talent of the individuals that I've been blessed to work with, for my Christmas shows, when I do Christmas concerts, I use Christmas crackers, and I throw 6 into the audience and have 6 diva names, and another 6 that have 6 Christmas songs. And that's a lot of combinations, as you can imagine. You can't rehearse all of them. It would take up all your rehearsal time. Trust me, you can't rehearse all of them. But you can discuss, okay, well, this is about the key that I typically do Liza Minnelli in, and this is about the key. So we have those basics. But so how would Edith Piaf sing Rocking Around the Christmas Tree? And we put it together on the spot, depending on what cracker combination pops up. And that's why even if you like my show and you want to come back, it's still going to be a little different. You'll get the same bits that you enjoyed, but there's always something new. And that's another thing that I thought, what can I do to keep impressions fresh? Because, once you sort of show the world that you can do these impressions, they go, okay, great. Now what? I don't want to be so formulaic that the audience gets tired. So that's one way I thought that we could play around. Yeah, keep them interested for a little while longer.
And there's like limitless creativity that you can have, and plus your voice is amazing in its own right.
You're being very nice. Thank you.
I'm being very descriptive. Is all I'm being.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's wonderful for me to get to perform for people that really appreciate the impressions and the work, and extra nice. Thank you very much for complimenting me.
You're very welcome. So I also saw you did a Disney medley with Jay McDowell. Jay McDowell. Yeah, I loved that so much. It was great.
Thank you. It's funny. We tried to do it a few times. I was supposed to film a Great Big Bad DVD over a year ago now, and I flew across the ocean, plunged all, and got laryngitis. We won't talk about that. It was awful. But I was supposed to do this great grand Disney medley with him there. Obviously didn't work out, so we couldn't use that version of it. Then we performed together at that was the Glamis Proms at Glamis Castle, and it was so incredible. And we had this huge orchestra, and the musical, the chart that I had for that Disney medley was only for about 5 pieces, but they were so enthusiastic. I said, why don't you guys do it? Everyone loves Disney, get up and do it. So Jai and I did it, and we posted it on on YouTube or whatever, but we really want to do like a really big version of it. Like, we want to just live out our Disney dreams and make a music video and have big band and all that stuff. So it might happen. But I love Jai. I think Jai has one of the most unique and spectacular voices. And because he's not known, like when he was on Britain's Got Talent, they didn't particularly let him sing a lot of the stuff I think that makes him shine. But I also think he was younger and didn't particularly know this is what I need to be doing. And now, just to watch him, his voice, it just falls out of him. I don't know how he does it. Like, I definitely have to warm up more than Jai does. It's just beautiful, gorgeous voice. So if you're not familiar with him, or you were, but you're not familiar with what he does now, check him out. Check out his album and check him out on YouTube. And so, yeah, I'm always trying to sing with him. So I have a few concerts lined up in October. And Jai, if you're watching, it'd be really great to have you back at some of those concerts. Maybe we'll do the Disney medley again.
That's very intriguing. Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of albums, your debut live album is in the works at the moment. Life of the Party. Tell us all about it.
Sure thing. Well, long overdue. I should have released an album a long time ago, and I didn't know if it should be a studio album, and there were a lot of cooks in the kitchen. Everybody wanted me to do a certain way. If you're doing a studio album, you shouldn't do so many impressions, and the people that wanted an album were people that were at my shows. And so I decided the best way to do it was to do a live album, something that really was a throwback to the old classic stuff that I love, where you really hear the whole show. There's the patter between the songs, the dialogue between the songs, because let me tell you something, just clicking a track and hearing Shakira sing Ed Sheeran could be a little jarring in your car, So you want to have the segues and have it all work together. And so it was a question of where and when. And the lovely Live at Adele it's a small, beautiful room with a great facility for live recordings. They're very challenging live recordings because, particularly on a small stage like that one, it's helpful to feel the energy in the mix and hear each other, but it's also quite difficult because every instrument is mic'd and I'm mic'd. So if I mess something up, you can't just fix it, because even if you fix my version of it, you're not supposed to fix anything on a live album anyway. I'm just putting this out there. Let's say I make a mistake, put it that way. If I make a mistake, but the bassist didn't, you can hear me in his and my mic feed. So it's really tricky to edit a live album and find the way to balance it. The mixing is really important. And so that's what I'm here this trip doing, is comping and mixing. We recorded 2 shows to give ourselves a little more variety. And it was just great. I mean, it's what I wanted. The audience was an audience who knew my material, and they were so enthusiastic and on board for the silliness and the more tender, sincere moments in my own voice. And so I'm really proud of what we put together. Of course, musically, it's all over the map, tons of genres. But that's what I wanted. I wanted everyone to sit down, and if you want to buy an individual track, which is the way digitally nowadays, that's fine. But if you wanted to listen to the whole album, you would know exactly what it was like to be at one of my concerts. And so it felt like the perfect foray into the Christina album world, because there will be more. But I thought that would be the perfect first one.
It's very exciting. And you, to help produce it, you put it on Indiegogo as well?
Yeah, it was something that I was definitely hesitant about doing it, and I tell everybody this. I was really hesitant at any crowdfunding concept that was thrown my way. You work with agents and people and producers and all that stuff, and people make suggestions, and usually I'm like, yeah, forget it. Yeah. But I was watching so many people and so many musicians and so many artists and just creative types do these crowdfunding campaigns, and it was the engagement between their followers and their fans, and the result when the product came out was so much bigger than the people I know who just, and let's be honest, when you're someone like me who's not a huge household name, even if you have all the money in the world, you want to have a producer or somebody back your album. And because this was a live album that I wanted with the fans in London, the city where I sort of went, oh my God, I could really travel. I could really do this now as a career, not just in my hometown, but I could really travel with my own concerts. So London has a special place in my heart because of that. I thought, wouldn't it be extra cool if they want to contribute whatever they can? $5, some people gave $5, some people gave $500. But wouldn't it be great if it was backed by them? And that way it really is truly a shared group experience. And so it worked out. Everybody showed up and everybody donated, and I made sure, because my responsibility then, other than to make a great product, was to entice them with great perks, because I don't want you getting the album isn't enough. That's great, but I'm Italian. I like to give. And if I can't cook you big meals, I'm going to give you perks. So I made sure that for each price point, they were really cool little incentives for people, from just getting an actual hard copy of the CD that's signed, to you, sent with a magnet with my little Diva Signature logo on it, or a travel card holder, because I know how quickly all you Brits go through Oyster cards.
You really do.
To bigger things where I've got this I call it the USB Fun Pack. Again, people don't even have CD players anymore, and so you could download the album, or you can get a USB stick that has not only the album but all these bonus tracks, and also behind the scenes footage, other clips of me that haven't been released on YouTube, but from my shows, where it's lovely filmed bits of my shows. So it's kind of got hours of entertainment on that one thing. And then, oh my gosh, I mean, you can get your own voicemail, you can get your own likely interpretation, and I could take you out for a night on the town in New York or London. And people really buy those that paint it red with me. People want to hang out with me. That was the coolest thing to learn about all this. I was like, really?
Of course.
Well, now I got to think of some really cool stuff to do. I have a list, but I'm going to have to step it up.
Yeah, there's some, as you say, there's some amazing perks, and you've already smashed your target, so congratulations to that. But it's still open, isn't it? People can still...
Well, if you surpass your target, Indiegogo lets you continue the campaign a little longer. So I'm going to continue it while I'm here in the UK, engaging with everybody for the next couple of weeks.
Your album's out on the 8th of October, is that correct?
October 6th, the album
October
is
6th.
out, and I'm going to have an album release concert event at the Other Palace Studio Theatre here in London. It was recorded in London. I have to release it first here in London. So yeah, it's going to be really fun. My MD, who I recorded the album with, and he arranged most of the music, Joe Louis Robinson. He's always, worked in the UK with me, but recently he moved to Australia. But we've got him back. He is coming in for this event on October 6th. Yeah, so it's going to be a really fun shared experience. And also exciting, I didn't mention this, one of the perks you could choose, which people actually purchased, was to sing a duet with me in my show. So we have some people singing duets with me in this London show, and it's going to be fun to meet these friends and fans and to rehearse with them and create this material. So you'll hear songs from the album, and you'll also hear fun requests and also some special material and like these cool duets and new things that come up. So it's going to be really cool. I've never done a concert like that. I've never done a concert where it really is a big celebration. It is a party and a thank you to the people that are there.
With fans as well. It's amazing.
Yeah, really, really special.
And so is it just people that sort of contribute to the Indiegogo, or can anyone get tickets?
Anybody can get tickets. Tickets are on sale on the Other Palace Theatre's website. Yep. And oh, please, it's all over my Instagram and Twitter and website. You can find it. But yeah, I do offer in the perks for my album, I offer VIP packages. So if you want special treatment and a nice champagne toast and an extra little goodie bag, then you can get tickets that way by donating to my crowdfund, but you can get the tickets in general.
This is amazing, so I'm going to have to go and get some tickets. Sounds like an amazing show.
Thank you.
Very welcome. So what are your I mean, you've got tons of stuff planned, but what have you got planned for the rest of the year and beyond? Any dreams and ambitions you've got in the pipeline? What's going on?
Well, a lot of things are in the works for the end of the year, but I can say that in addition to playing London on October 6th for the album release, I'll be doing a few other cities. I'm not going to get all the dates right now, but I'm performing that week, right after that, in Aberdeen, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Manchester, right before I go off on the Festival Stages cruise, that big crazy charter cruise for musical theater fans, and the big headliner acts are Michael Ball and Beverly Knight and Lee Mead. I'm very lucky, Little American, to be included in that cruise. So yeah, those four cities I mentioned go up to October 15th, where I join that ship, and after that I may throw in a few more cities before I go back home. But that's all sort of a precursor to what will happen next year, which is I'm going to do another tour. Another UK tour, and hopefully hit some more cities in Europe. So that's something that's being planned, and I'm really excited because I couldn't do it this year, and I don't want to wait too long. So got to come back and do that.
And when you come back, you'll have to come back on the Sarah O'Connell show as well. You're welcome anytime.
100%. I love this. This is just wonderful questions. It's fun to just be personable and relaxed. So thanks.
Thank you so much. And if you say you did an album full of duets, who would you want to be an album? Now, it's a tricky question because, of course, you can just duet with anyone you want all the time because you can just become them. But
if it's people that I can currently record with, well, we got to go with Celine Dion, and we got to go with Bette Midler. My other favorites, like I said, Jessie J. If I could go back in time, I would sing with Sammy Davis Jr., who's one of my all-time greatest inspirations, and I try to feature a couple of his songs in my shows, and I'll be doing more of that. So Sammy, and then my other favorite is Michael Jackson. So if I could go back and sample and get some songs, I would love to do that.
That'd be so great. I saw him in concert in 2001 in Madison Square Garden with the Jackson 5.
God, I'm so jealous of that.
I was paying it off for years. Whitney Houston was there, Justin Timberlake, Beyonce, Samuel L. Jackson, lots of people. Ray Charles.
I know, yeah, slumming it.
Yeah.
Terrible show.
So bad.
Oh my God, the talent! It's just the best. I'm a huge MJ fan. Huge fan of that style, and particularly the Quincy Jones albums. Like Off the Wall is one of my favorite things ever. Like I can't do this stuff in my shows. I just love singing it. Like, Christina, what do you listen to? Off the Wall. What do you listen to when you're working out? Jackson 5. Michael Jackson. Like this is what I do. I can't get enough of it. And so that's something I wish that I'd seen. Michael. Kills me.
Amazing. Really was so good. If you know, like when you were a kid and stuff, and you were, say you were listening to Celine Dion and you'd embody her voice, if you were singing with her, would you accidentally start doing it too?
No, absolutely not. I can tell you that I would be way too scared to do it. I mean, I'm sure that if it was in the sort of situation where somebody is hiring me and is like, look, Christina, we're going to have you sing with Celine. You have to impersonate her and sing it. I would practice to do that, but I would want to be me. I mean, my impulse would just want to be like there's no way I would want to it's weird to do an impression for somebody in front of them. I've had people, celebrities that know what I do, tweet me or message me or say how much they enjoy what I do, and that's great. But to actively do it at them, to them, while they're singing with you, it's fascinating. It might make for really great television if somebody wants to make that happen. But my impulse would be to sing as myself. So it would be work. It'd be work. I'd make it happen if I was asked to, but yeah, I'd rather just sing with me, sing as me.
Absolutely. So finally, have you got any messages for people watching the Sarah O'Connell Show and your fans around the world?
That's a loaded question. All I want to say is I have the greatest time when I'm here in the UK, and that's why I keep coming back, because I have wonderful people who come support me, wonderful new fans who I meet, and wonderful people like yourself who spend the time to get to know me and let me talk about what I'm doing. And it's because of all of you that I get to do what I love. And I may sound a little sappy and I may sound like a broken record, but particularly with this album coming out, I am so grateful. I feel really #blessed, and I'm just really thrilled to be here, and I can't wait to come back and do more for you all.
That's amazing. Christina Bianco, thank you for coming on the Sarah O'Connell Show today. As I say, I'm in awe of your talent. You are incredible. And thank you to Celine and Alanis and Brittany and everyone else as well that's inside.
I'm very happy to have been here. It was a wonderful, wonderful conversation. Yes.
And thank you to everyone watching the Sarah O'Connell Show at home. Be sure to share, subscribe, give the video a big thumbs up, and I'll see you all again soon for another episode of the Sarah O'Connell Show. Bye.
Adios.
That was Dora the Explorer. I should have explained that.
Oh no, speaking of which, you were in, we're back into the thing, you were in a Dora the Explorer live show.
I was Dora.
You were.
It's loud.
Hola, amigos.
Basically that. For about 45 minutes. Doing about 10 to 13 shows a week.
That's me when I've had too much caffeine.
It was like my equivalent of a panto. Only played Radio City Music Hall. It was big. It was the coolest thing. I met some of my best friends. I met my husband working on that show. It opened so many doors for me in the New York theater scene. But if you had told me, again, sort of like the viral video, if you had told me that Dora the Explorer would be the way that I sort of, had all those things happen, I never would have believed you. At first I would have gone, why? Why would you do this? But it was really freaking fun.
It worked out amazingly, so thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Oh my God, that was great. That was great.